State Fair this year. Maybe it's because there was too much having to go back when I was in high school band. Or maybe I just haven't regained the love of that alone in a crowd feeling that I had before the pandemic. But I know how it can go at State Fair or one of the ethnic weekends on the Summerfest grounds. You don't have to be hungry exactly. But, you know, what's a State Fair without something stupid on a stick? At Irish Fest, it's probably not about whether to eat, but maybe it's shepherd's pie or corned beef and cabbage. Sometimes it happens online, you know, and it's not our fault. We're bombarded with temptations to spend on things we just happen to browse or query. Things that we've bought before. Maybe things that an algorithm associates with things we've bought before. Things that are bought by people who also listen to that podcast or read that newsletter or somehow hit the same demographic in that stupid algorithm. One way or another, it is so easy to find ourselves spending money on something that isn't nourishing and not being satisfied. That's what grabbed me in the first reading. Why do you spend your money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which does not satisfy? And of course, it isn't just money. If we've been identifying with the passion in Gwen's liturgy, we might want to grab the lapels of the nearest Christian nationalist or gun enthusiast and demand, why are you throwing your energy into arming yourself? Don't you realize that people in households with guns are likelier to shoot themselves, ending a life that might not have looked hopeless an hour or a day later? Likelier to let an argument turn into a gunfight? One way or another, more, not less likely to die or kill or lose a family member through the use of that gun? Listen to me, we might want to say, and you'll be more likely to live. And of course, the gun lover may want to push right back. You idiot! Don't you know how dangerous it is to advertise your weakness? Or beyond that, you're part of the conspiracy, aren't you? Trying to take our guns so we're unable to defend ourselves. Could it be that we are, all of us, spending our substance on seeing what's wrong with one another? Could it be that as long as those of us who want what we think of as common sense gun control demonize the them who stock up on assault weapons, we fuel the conviction that we are a threat to their freedom? The kind of threat that only makes them think they might need another gun or 6. And as long as they're buying AR-15s, we are getting more shrill about the idiocy of assault weapons, the craziness of having a gun in the car, even when other people are driving like idiots. Could it be that we're spending ourselves on the wrong things because we don't know what's good for us? Incline your ear and come to me, says the prophet. And incline your ear always makes me think of a golden retriever, but never mind. And the prophet frames that invitation as if it's coming from God. Listen, so that you may live. The first step in listening is stop talking. Stop focusing on the next thing you're going to say. Just be there. I went to an interfaith dinner conversation a week and a half ago, and at each table, each person got a question. One person at a time, and different question for every person, so you couldn't be thinking about what you're going to say while somebody else is talking. And the job of everybody else was to listen, not to interact, not even to respond beyond thank you, although sometimes people couldn't help it just a little. But listen, receive what is offered. It's not so formal at PowerShift, but listening is a lot of what we do there too. Sometimes it feels superficial, but then you find people are really sharing what's on their hearts and in their minds. A listening ear Or if you were here last week and remember Pastor Donna talking about Solomon's Prayer, a listening heart can be more welcome than pizza and a cookie, even on a Friday night when young folks are out celebrating. Listen to the holy is the invitation of the text. But listen to the holy not only at worship or Bible study. What if we could hear the voice of the holy in that of the people who most need to be listened to? It's an audio version of seeing Christ in the faces of people we serve. What if we wonder, how is divine love hidden in the voices we don't want to hear? And how can we speak a word to those who don't want to hear us? And speak it in such a way that they know we have heard them. Maybe even in such a way that there's a chance they will hear us after all. Frankly, I don't know if that's possible these days. We've all been conditioned not to hear what others are saying. Instead, to hear what the leaders on our side tell us they really mean. It could be that if you try that listening thing, what you hear will just turn your stomach. And yet, trying to shout over each other gets us nowhere. And there is this promise of refreshment, of nourishment, of life. Come, without money. Eat and live. What if that's not the sort of false promise that comes from the wellness industry? You know, your life will be perfect if you try a new facial cream or a vitamin supplement or you get better sneakers. You could be perfect. But what if the promise isn't about the wellness industry, but about actual wellness? What if what feeds us is not doing more, but powering down, taking a break, listening not to another podcast, but to the promise we have known ever since our baptism? What if we're here, not just because we're in the habit of coming most Sunday mornings, but because we know it feeds our wellness, being part of this community does? Experiencing the love that we speak and sing and eat and drink. What if part of what feeds us is the reconciliation we know during the peace? Reconciliation we carry out of this place and share with people we probably don't like all that much. What if it's also the joy of putting a little money into the interchange basket once a month? What if we leave this place remembering the power of listening? And what if that power even circles back to gun violence? When it's something that actual physical life and death rely on for too many people in our city, in our country, in our world, what if there's a way that learning to listen enables a world that is actually safer? May it be so. Amen.